Hey everyone, Andrew and Adam here with It Takes Two Takes. We are going to talk about The Boys Season 2, brought to you by Fresca, Adam. We are going to talk about the first three episodes. They aired all at once, and they aired a little bit early, which was a nice surprise. It's a lot to cover, and we certainly aren't going to go through every individual episode. I think we just want to give really our general thoughts. Adam, you and I haven't even talked about this yet. I watched it over the weekend. I know you did the same.
Well, over the weekend, I watched
it-
it Thursday night. Are you kidding me? I didn't get to bed until like
That's-
1 o'clock in the
You
morning.
did. I mean, what you're saying is correct. I'm aware of this. I had things going on, and I tried to plow through it as best I could. I loved it, of course, and I'm kind of glad that what we really saw in those the initial trailers, for the most part, a lot of it was in those first three episodes. So we're kind of left with the last five episodes. I don't really know what to expect. But let's talk about it a little bit. Adam, what did you like about these first three episodes?
I mean, there's so much to like. I think the fact that we're jumping right back in, kind of where we left off previously, right? You really don't get in the first episode. You don't even get a good sense of what happened to Billy at all. Really, they don't really start to cover what happened with him until the second episode. Billy Butcher and Carl Urban are pretty much, not existent in the first episode. So you're really catching up on all the other characters. Really, is who you're catching up with, and we get to learn a little bit about it. I mean, Billy shows up at the very end, but we get a little bit of sense of how the group has been interacting while he's been gone, right? And you really get a sense that Huey does not really want Billy back. He is pissed at Billy. He's definitely holding kind of a grudge against him.
He's pissed, but about as pissed as Huey can be. Because what I've loved about seeing every character's got their moments, but Huey still is that guy that he still just believes the best in anyone, even in the worst of moments. He's hitting rock bottom, but about as rock bottom as Huey can be, right?
Right. Yeah, but it's still, you really get a sense when Billy does show up how pissed he is. Like, everyone wants to call Billy and say, hey, this is what's up and here's where we're at. Huey does not, because he's mad because he basically left them to their own devices, right? That's where he's pissed.
Right.
That's his whole argument is, when the group needed you, you were nowhere to be found. You had your own agenda. And he still has his own agenda. I mean, that's really still the focus of Billy is his ex-wife, right? Only now the difference is it's less about revenge for her death and more about finding her.
Find her, yeah.
I did notice
the list of everything that he can visually remember from that moment, which was interesting.
I did notice that they recast the part of Homelander's son. The Homelander's son doesn't.
You noticed that?
Yeah.
I would have never noticed that.
Yeah, the face and the hair was all different from the. Now I just rewatched season 1 recently, so it was kind of fresh in my head what the kid looked like. But yeah, they definitely recast Homelander's son for the new season.
Well, interesting fact: the original actor kid that played Homelander's son in season 1 was the stunt double for this actor in season 2, jumping 2 stories to the ground. No, that's not true. That would get no votes on IMDb trivia section. Speaking of the whole Billy Butcher plot line, let's say for now, right? I like that they got right to it in terms of what is his purpose now that he knows what he knows, and what are we left with at this point? The fact that what we saw at the end of season 1, that cliffhanger, he just wakes up in a parking lot and has to find his way back to wherever she is. And by the way, where she is, I have to assume that she's in some sort of, like Vought owned sort of community.
Right.
So I was thinking about that, and you don't see them interacting with anyone else. She wants to see the doctor, but it's possible that she was trying to leave versus get in to see the doctor.
Oh no,
it's not very clear.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those situations where she has no way out. They obviously are in a very gated suburb setup specifically. Wouldn't be surprised if they specifically built this just for the solution, right?
Yeah.
But they
The
are
solution
definitely
in my is the solution Homelander's son in this case, right? I assume
right.
they're kind of repeating history in terms of sort of quarantining his son and raising him kind of like they did with Homelander, just slightly differently because his mom's there.
Right. Yeah. Well, Homelander was very much broken partially because of the fact he was very much raised in a lab. He knew
Right.
he was raised in a lab, and it seems like they're trying not to do that this time around. And yeah, so we still don't know if the product of this child, was it consensual or not, right? They haven't really delved into that yet in the first 3 episodes.
Right.
But shifting gears off of Homelander a little bit, let's talk about the Deep and the fact that he's it looks like he's trying to join a cult, almost like a Scientology type cult.
I mean, if his Patton Oswalt gills have anything to say about it, he might. I don't know. His whole journey, which, by the way, is trippy, and it works completely well in The Boys. As trippy as that whole scene was of him having conversations with his gills, if nothing else than to serve a purpose and build up to the very moment that Homelander completely shuts him down and tells him that his gills are disgusting. Like the face that he had when he said that, it was like all of that for that moment. And you felt for him in that moment because of everything that he's clearly going through psychologically with everything.
Yeah, and he's got a bit of a character development this time around. He obviously flips out at a water park, and he's definitely going through some very low lows, and he's trying to get back into Seven without Vought asking him to be back, right?
Right.
So, and we got to see a little bit more extended whale scene in this case, and the fact that,
again, the Deep, anything that he touches in terms of marine life ends tragically. And here we go yet again. We saw it in the little sneak peek clip, so no huge surprise if you saw that. But nonetheless, the buildup that led to that moment made it even more sort of rewarding from a character standpoint. Like he felt like he was kind of had taken this journey and had become this more evolved person. And he still tried to have his sort of superhero moment, and it was completely destroyed by the creature that he loves being speared by a
Lucy
boat.
If I remember correctly, the whale's name was Lucy.
Lucy, that's correct.
Homelander was just like, okay, Lucy. I mean, he very dismissive, right?
Yeah.
The fact that we also saw how far down Huey's hitting on rock bottom too, because he was perfectly content just to keep hanging out in that whale. He was just kind of like, I'm done.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to see, where his character goes with this, because he had to kind of be dragged out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got Stormfront, brand new character.
Yeah. I wanted to, when you mentioned the new getting back into the Seven, the newest member of the Seven, Stormfront, talk about a 180 in terms of what they wanted you to believe with the character, which, by the way, I don't want to get too far ahead of things, but I thought she was an interesting character, kind of seeing through people's bullshit, basically.
Right.
But at the same time, I was like Stormfront, is that a reference to, one of the oldest internet sites that is all about hate, you know what I mean? And anti-Semitism and racism. And I thought Garth Ennis would do that. And then it kind of left my mind because I haven't read the comics. I've read Garth Ennis' works, but I have not read The Boys. And it left my mind. The character caused that to leave my mind, I guess you could say, or just time. And then really, I feel like the season just kind of really hits it shifts into another gear, really, with that climactic scene with Stormfront at the end of episode 3.
Right. And Homelander obviously first, Homelander was not happy that she was put into Seven without his okay. And then on top of it, she keeps stealing his thunder,
Yeah.
so to speak, Stormfront. But she keeps, stealing the spotlight, which annoys him even more. So,
And let's be honest, it's a woman. I think Homelander is petty enough that that bothers him even more.
oh,
And
very
that's
much.
interesting because Stormfront, the character that was in the comics, was actually a male character. And I remember reading the sort of, as they were developing season 2, they ended up casting a woman to play Stormfront. They felt that that would sort of enhance sort of Homelander's, again, sort of pettiness and rage. The fact that he's being out, this woman is outshining him. And you could see it at the end of episode 3. She's digging into him now.
She doesn't have like Homelander, she doesn't have a problem killing civilians, right? I mean, going through that apartment complex,
Minority civilians. Did you notice that?
Oh yeah, she had no problem. Just like they're witnesses, so they gotta go, right?
Yeah.
So
You
anyone
didn't
who
realize it at that moment until she called him it was Kimiko's brother. So she referred to him as Yellow, and then it basically kills him in that moment. But then looking back, I was like, when she busted through that apartment, it was a black family that lived there, and she just that was the first time I'd seen her just ruthlessly slaughter somebody, and it didn't even dawn on me. I was like, wow, that's bold for her to just kill that family. But in that moment when that happened, when she killed her brother, I was like, oh, like this is a completely different character than they led us to believe. Now I see what's happening.
right, and this, I'm interested to see how Queen Mav ends up really interacting now with this, because she was already afraid of Homelander. We really get a sense of that fear that she had for Homelander in these episodes, right? As she's talking to her friend of like, the reason I don't do everything you want me to do is because of him. He'll kill you. Yeah. He's got that jealousy of he owns whatever he thinks he owns, and anyone else gets to die. And so you find out the reason that she's been keeping this friend or girlfriend or ex at bay is because of the fact that she's trying to protect them. She cares about him too much to let Homelander basically slaughter her.
Yeah,
and I wonder.
I have a feeling she'll be more involved in time for sure because of that.
I wonder if that will make her, as time goes on, especially as I think Starlight pulls away from, because I'm positive at some point in this season, Starlight's going to have to leave the Seven altogether and just be flat on, I'm with them now, right? They're already, because of Huey and everything like that, very suspicious, right? Homelander was trying to get her to kill Huey. Huey was going to let her do it, just to, protect her. I'm curious, as Starlight starts to pull away from the Seven, if Mav will also pull away from the Seven as well.
Speaking of some conflict and who's gonna, just basically the sort of implosion potentially of the Seven. Another thing regarding Stormfront, I was thinking about this, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I didn't miss something here. Stormfront, now that we know like what she is, and if it's any relation to the origin story of the comics, like it was one of the oldest of the soups that was essentially made by a Nazi, right? I'm wondering if Stormfront has not interacted with A-Train yet. How's that going to go?
Right. Well,
so I don't
even A-Train himself, right? He's awake now. Like the first episode, he wasn't awake, but he ends up awake.
Yeah.
He remembers everything. But the problem is Starlight's doing a good job of keeping him in check by his own fear of what will happen at the same time, right? First, she starts off by pointing out the fact that he killed his own girlfriend, and then just his knowledge of things and letting it go now becomes you're an unwitting accomplice that could get yourself in trouble now. And A-Train is still having heart problems. We're seeing that, right? He starts to go full out, and next thing you know, he's grasping his chest. So he's not 100% yet.
Correct. Yeah, he's not. Yeah, that was a. I don't know where his character is going. I was wondering that as those episodes were progressing, and it wasn't until again I realized that Stormfront hadn't interacted with him yet. Let me ask you this, because I think I have an opinion on this. Who, if, assuming a similar level of power as a, let's say, a villain or a threat in general, who's more frightening at this point from what we know, Homelander or Stormfront? Because I would argue, now that I'm knowing what I know about Stormfront, at least with Homelander, the dude is just out to serve himself. Like,
Right.
he's out to do whatever he needs to do to get ahead of things and to really just be, to move on with life and be able to get anything he wants from the world and have control and domination. Stormfront is coming from a whole different angle, and it's like they're both arguably villains in this series, but Stormfront is coming from a place of a much different level of obviously hate, right? Like I don't know. The more I think about it, like I think I have to think those two are going to butt heads, but the question becomes, is it going to be a struggle for power, and that'll be the whole dynamic for this season, as those two and them focused on each other? Or is there going to be some level of, will Homelander, be self-serving and manipulate everyone to take her down and, eventually be the true head of the Seven again? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know where this is going exactly yet. I'm loving it though.
Oh yeah, I think it's great. I have to admit, I was also getting a kick, a real kick out of watching the reenactment of apparently how Billy Butcher killed Elizabeth Shue's character.
Yeah.
That reenactment every time they kept
Yes.
showing that. I was getting a real kick out of that. A Stormfront, we've got a lot of unknowns on her, so I think right now I'd be a little bit more scared of her, because Homelander right now has also got a little bit in check because he's made a deal about allowing Billy to stay alive, right? Because of his son.
Right.
And so that's the whole reason Billy Butcher is even still alive to begin with. And we find that out, later on, is the fact that obviously his ex-wife made a deal that he stays alive and Homelander can have access to his son, right?
Right.
So, and then on top of it, you got the head of Vought also putting Homelander in place. So to a certain extent, you can almost feel or see the chains that are kind of grounding Homelander right now, whereas Stormfront doesn't have any of that we are aware of, right? And I think that's why, where Homelander was the threat the first season, Stormfront seems to be more of a threat this season. There's still a few clips that from the trailers that weren't in the first 3 episodes, but the majority, like you said at the beginning, were in this. So we're really going to start going into unknown, this coming Friday, right?
Yeah.
So I'm really interested to see where this season goes, and how many more times they get splattered with various goo, whether it be blood or whatever else. Because so far, they're definitely getting splattered so far this season.
Yeah, it's they wasted no time, especially early on. When speaking of like Homelander too, like the moment when he walked out and people trying to join the Seven, and you have this blind guy, essentially a Daredevil knockoff, right? And he wasted no time, not being impressed with every box that was being checked in terms of, his special needs,
Right.
his race, his background. He basically just annihilated the dude by by just going right for the ears.
Right, like what happens if I do this, and yeah, where you could tell, like, that's where I think it's always interesting in the show how Vought comes at everything from a PR perspective on a lot of things. And then you've got the soups that are just like, I don't really care about the PR. Especially Homelander, right? So I think it's going to be very interesting to see how the characters unravel in this season. And how much more the boys get blamed for, right? They're being blamed for Elizabeth Shue's death. They're being blamed for the head of the CIA's death. They're just going to keep getting blamed for everything. They're being blamed for all those civilians that Stormfront killed.
Right.
So it will be interesting to see how much further, they get blamed for everything, right? While I'm also interested to see what soup is going to get killed this season, because they killed Translucent first season. They can't go a whole season.
That funeral, by the way, was amazing of Translucent. I just have to point out, like, to open up a first episode, which I don't know. The whole thing was just so over the top. I loved it. Like walking right into that.
And they try to make it look like, well, there's like Translucent's bodies in the clear coffin.
Yeah, this glass coffin
by having like an imprint.
Intentional.
Right. It had an imprint in it to make it seem like he died while invisible, and there's no way to make him uninvisible.
It's so good. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but it reminded me of like Michael Jackson's funeral. You know what I mean? Like it just felt like there's something about it. It was inspired by something, and I can't quite place it, but I think that's what I'm thinking of.
And Starlight's character this season, whether it be at that funeral where she's performing, singing a song, or she's doing all the TV promos. I mean, she's doing all that right now because of the fact that she's trying to keep her head down. But you can tell how frustrated she is and how by stifling herself, but she's trying to do it while at the same time trying to expose Compound V, which now the public knows that soups are not made by God. They're made by a chemical, Compound V, right?
Right.
And now that's now out well known. And that Vault was the ones who made Compound V.
Right. They're not a superhero company. They're a pharmaceutical company. It's always been that way, right? As it was explained to Homelander. So
now they're trying to spin it and make it seem like, well, we didn't really have anything to do with this. But at the same time, that's only going to go so far. I think that's where the next challenge for the boys is to prove that they not only knew it was going on, but that was their whole goal, right?
Yeah.
So it is interesting to kind of see where they'll go with the rest of the season, because I suspect that though as much that happened in these first 3 episodes, I suspect the reason they decided to bundle 3 of them together and not just 2 of them or 4 of them was probably because the first 3 are the setup, right? Really, that's what we had, right? We had the first 3 that really felt like the season's setup, and now it just goes from here. That's what it felt like to me.
You might be right about that. I almost wonder if they developed these episodes with the same mindset of doing everything all at once. And when the decision was made to do a week-to-week format, they might have taken a step back and gone, all right, what do we have in front of us out of these 8 episodes? Oh, okay. These first 3 are an arc that we need. Like, we don't have that first episode completely with a cliffhanger tying you into it, get gripping you into what's ahead. Those first 3 episodes get you really into this, and you don't even know what's going to come next after this. It seems like things are just going to continue to escalate, and it's already gotten crazy. So
final thoughts. I think it was great. I enjoyed all 3 episodes. I stayed up until 1:00 when they dropped to watch all 3 of them back to back. I can't wait for this Friday. And I'm in. Season 2 started off really good. I'm not disappointed.
Yeah, I think our plan, Adam, is, for this channel, we'd like to go over this and talk about it really week to week. I would imagine, starting next weekend, that it will be a little bit more digestible, easier to talk about, in the sense that we'll be able to focus on a single episode versus 3. It's just a lot, right?
Well, or it'll at least be a shorter video.
or it will be a shorter video, yeah. But I don't even know what to expect coming up. We have, there's heads exploding. Again, Patton Oswalt talking from a guy's torso. There's all kinds of things happening. The Boys is amazing, and I'm glad it's back. And I'm happy that I'm fine with it being week to week, honestly. I was going to make a joke that I was going to spend the rest of my night after this video just completely review bombing the series for doing week to week. I don't know if you've seen the headlines that's what's happening out there, which even if it irritated me, I'm not going to spend time writing angry reviews on the quality of the show because of a week-to-week format. We are limited with options, people, at this point. And even if we weren't, The Boys is a fantastic show. I'm glad it's here. Let's appreciate it one week after another. We'll be sure to do that here on this channel. So, as always, be sure to like this, comment on this, tell us some things that you really liked about it, tell us things you didn't like about it. If you absolutely hate that it's week to week, fine, go ahead and comment, we'll respond. But ultimately, what else am I missing here, Adam? I know I'm forgetting something. Usually this is what part where I go, here's Adam, and then I roll out and it's you.
I think you've got it. I think most everybody knows what to do, and we'll see you all next week for the next recap of The Boys. And hope you enjoyed this video. Have a good one.
There's Adam. There's Adam right there.
Hi, Adam here. If you like this video, go ahead and check out our other videos. And if you like this channel, go ahead and subscribe. Hope to see you again real soon. Bye.